As the sun rises on this day in Newtown, there's no time for rest, there's work to be done. Farming, shepherding, market stalls, wood, beer, of course, and fortifications. We're going to turn this sleepy little hamlet of Newtown into a solid rock of economic stability. So we can go from something that looks like this to something that looks more like this. So don't forget to like and subscribe as you join me, Lord Bara, in another episode of Foundation. As you can see, I'm going to carry on with that initial build of Newtown. I want to see how far I can take it. I'm still learning all of these new systems alongside you. So if you are also playing, this is a journey that we are both very much on. The footage from this play session is quite interesting. I've been playing around with this new system where you can move buildings around, and I really like it. I'm kind of in two minds about it as well, but overall I really like it. And I've been leaning into it, so the shape of the town, where previously I would build and destroy things if they didn't feel like they were working for me, and that could take some time. It obviously cost resources, but the main thing is that it took time for things to rebuild and to reshape the town. With this new tool where you can move buildings around, I'm able to iterate far faster. So what you're going to see in this episode is me moving a lot of buildings around and really molding, shaping the structure and the flow of the town. But first things first, where I left off last, the economy was in a really good state. And so my first port of call here is to purchase a whole load of new territories. What I want to do is open up the amount of build area that I've got so I can truly start to plan not just where I want the center of the town to be, but also all of the surrounding production in farms, which I haven't unlocked yet, but I will do later. And I'm going to establish a far larger town. In fact, I'm going to more than double the population size in this episode. And as long as I do things in a sensible order, I should continue to get good taxation and make good money from trade and continue to grow the economy. I'm also going to do a little experiment where I don't unlock the extra trade routes. I've already unlocked the very first one, the Northbury one, which you need planks, 20 planks I think it is, in order to unlock that very initial trade route. But I want to run a little experiment where I don't unlock the other trade routes, just to see how far I can push the taxation income to see whether or not it's capable of sustaining the town. And the reason that I want to run that experiment is because, in theory, I should be able to unlock one of the other two monuments, the castle or the monastery, and without continuing to develop the manor monument, I believe that taxation should be enough to support the other monuments without relying on trade. But it's just a theory, I'm not entirely sure. With that said, I am still allowed to sell processed meat to Northbury, and in order to do that, I'll need a granary to store it, without which the traders can't buy or sell that particular product. One of the other new features of the full release is this village map bird's eye view. It's a shame there aren't any other building functions in here, but it's a nice addition, and I can definitely still use it to visualize the town layout, like the town centre, the industrial area, a potential location for a monastery or a castle, and where I'd like to place farming. Now that you know what my plan is, I can start using the paintbrushes to try to convince the townsfolk that it's a good idea. I don't want to upset them too much. I imagine it's pretty devastating when your house suddenly gets demolished and you have no idea why. No wonder they all leave. So I'm going to leave the housing alone as best I can until I'm 100% convinced that this is the layout that I want. And then I'll start reorganizing the houses. But for now, I can just get to the paint brushes now that I've acquired some more territory. And I can start to plot the main roads through the town. Now that I've got an idea about what I want the general layout to look like. I'm also going to continue to use my woodcutters to continue to clear cut the whole area. I'm also going to do this in sections. I'm going to build the town itself in sections. And those individual sections, they will become, in my mind, historical districts that show you how the town has grown over time. So if I fence off an area, I'm going to, and don't hold me to this, but I'll try not to demolish those fences because I also want it to appear like it's organically grown. And that was one thing that I was saying about why I'm in two minds about the new ability to move buildings around wherever and whenever I choose. Because although it enables me to be able to finesse everything into exactly the way that I want it, it also robs me of the serendipity and chance that creates things that you never intended but you end up absolutely loving. It's actually why I think Foundation shines over other city builders. Because yes, I've planned it, but because of the pathing system, things aren't going to turn out exactly the way I anticipated. And I love that. Here we are, we've arrived at the first point on which I'm going to try to sculpt what the market square, or in this case it's going to be the market corner, will look like. You see how easy it is to move the buildings with this new tool? If you want to move a piece, you just click on it and then you get the little widgets pop up and you can manipulate it. If you want to move the whole building, you need to double click and then the widget will move to the center of the whole building, so you're not just manipulating a single part. It's not clearly expressed in any of the tutorial or help pop-ups, so it's one of those things that the game doesn't quite tell you, but ends up being a really useful piece of information. Being able to move the warehouses around is a real game changer. No longer do we have to destroy and laboriously move or micromanage the transfer of the products, the goods that were stored there into a newly built one. Now that I've said that, I feel a little bit sad. I feel somehow less lordly not micromanaging the townsfolk somehow. Maybe I'm overthinking it. I'm envisaging the corner of the town here is an L shape, and the market is going to spill around the corner of it as you come in through the gate and then towards the church. I want some of the new housing to mix in with it because as it upgrades, it should blend quite nicely with the town. We'll see how that goes, but as of now, that's kind of the plan. So there used to be a button when you clicked on a house that told you that the house was not fit to upgrade. It was the way that you would control which houses were being upgraded to a higher tier. That has been removed and it's been replaced with this other gameplay, which is the purple paintbrush called Patrol. So the way I'm thinking about it is, instead of the button inside the house that tells me not to upgrade, I now paint a house in purple and that tells it that it should upgrade. So in a way, all the houses are default set to don't upgrade. The butcher gets moved around so much. It's such an awkward building. Don't get me wrong, I love it, but it is one of the most awkward buildings to place, and make it feel like it actually fits into the other architecture. The last thing that I want to do in the town space is just move the church a little bit and make it a bit more centralized. If I put a wall around it, that will define its boundary of ownership within the town, and that'll give me space to grow the church later on, and so that I don't interfere with anything else that I build. By the way, I love the new walls. They're so nice. The church as well. I like the new architecture for the church. You know what? I'm gushing. The whole game just looks fantastic to me now. I'm so happy that it's had this visual upgrade. It's so nice. I just wish my PC was able to run it better. Let's fast forward to organising the farmland. I'm going to go with 4 farms and 1 windmill and 1 baker. The bakery is obviously going to go inside the town, and what I need to do here is define a pathing system through the farms so that the villagers aren't haphazardly walking over crops and what have you. Initially, I wanted to have the windmill overlooking the water. In reality, that makes sense because a windmill would need to be placed on a high point or at a funnel on a river so that it would get good airflow. But I'm placing it inland here, close to the main road, because I'm taking a little bit of creative license. I just think it looks a bit better there. And later on I will add a second one, probably right next to it. It will also kill 2 birds with 1 stone because it means that the villagers won't have to walk so far when delivering the wheat, and the transporters won't have to travel so far in order to collect the milled grain. The other thing that I'm going to do here is draw a path down to the shore so that I can add a fisherman in. I'm also anticipating this connects up to an arterial road that leads out of the map, so it would be a King's Road, but I'll probably need to guide that at a later date when I have more territory. Now that I've set out the farms, I'm left with a conundrum about what to do with the windmill area. I don't want this to just be dropped on the side of a road. It feels a bit strange. Windmills are important parts of medieval infrastructure. They're not a second thought, and with that in mind, it needs to have an area of its own. So that's the reason that I've just created a modest circular area. I would like to put a warehouse here. Not a warehouse, sorry, a granary. And I may do that in the future, but for now, I don't want to overextend the amount that I'm spending on the town or upkeep for the amount of food that is required to sustain that amount of extra villagers. So I'm just defining an area for the time being, and I'll come back to it at a later date. there we have it. I love the new textures for the farms, and especially the sheep farm with the meadow texture. It looks really nice. Let's put some boundaries down for the farms so they look owned. Let's just take a moment and enjoy the rain. Okay, that's enough rain. The final thing to do in terms of farming is the hop farm and the brewery. I was in two minds whether or not to do this, because the only benefit that I get out of this is either through trade, which I wasn't going to unlock, or to satisfy a need of commoners and citizens, of which I don't have any. But I've decided to go ahead and build it anyway, because as soon as I can see that the economy is stable after all of this has been built and all of the new villages are settled, that will have satisfied my curiosity about whether or not you can sustain yourself on taxation alone. And judging by how it's going now, it seems to be working just fine. So in theory, you should be able to just have tier 1 and tier 2. No, just tier 1 in the common path, tier 1 in the manor monument, and that's enough to then pivot into the other two estates as you see fit. Well, that's all I've got time for today. I hope you enjoyed the journey. I've just realised I'm pre-recording this, and I need a name for Newtown. It's really bugging me. But until next time, I'll just say, if you have been, thank you for watching, thank you for listening. This has been Foundation, and I have been Lord Bara.